Have you ever stopped to think about what's actually happening behind the scenes of a live TV show? For the last couple of decades, there's been this quiet but absolutely massive revolution going on. It has completely changed the tech that gets those pictures to your screen. So we're going to trace that journey from a physical world of gears and dials to a world of pure data flying around at gigabit speeds.
You know, it really wasn't that long ago that a TV studio was a very hands-on, mechanical kind of place. You can almost think of it as an analog kingdom, just filled with all these specialized machines, each one built to do one single job. Every single signal, whether it was the picture or the sound, had its own dedicated wire, its own special path through this huge maze of equipment.
So, the big question, the one we're really digging into here is, how on earth did we get from that world of physical cables and single-purpose machines to the super streamlined software-driven world we live in today?
Because this is what a modern broadcast facility looks like now. I mean, it's basically a data center. Those big clunky machines, they've been replaced by racks of computer servers. And that spiderweb of single-use cables, it's now just a high-speed network. This collision of broadcast and IT didn't just change a few things, it completely rewrote the rulebook. Let's break down how it all happened.
All right, so for part one, we're going to step back in time. To really get a feel for how huge this change was, we first have to understand that old analog kingdom, where every single picture, every single sound had its own physical, one-of-a-kind path. In that era, the different engineering worlds were totally separate. You had the audio engineer living in their own little bubble, the video engineer in theirs, and the transmission folks just worried about the final signal going out over the air. Each piece of gear was its own island, designed for one task and one task only.
And that difference created two completely different ways of working. I mean, polar opposites. In the analog world, editing was linear. You were literally taking a razor blade and physically cutting and splicing tape. And every single time you made a copy, the quality got a little worse, a little fuzzier. Now compare that to today's file-based world. Editors can jump to any part of a video instantly. Copies are perfect digital clones every single time. And a whole rack of those old machines has been replaced by just one computer running powerful software.
So, this brings us to part two, the digital transition. This was the first major shakeup, and believe me, it was not like flipping a switch overnight. It was a long, slow journey away from analog waves and towards the world of ones and zeros.
And yeah, this was a change that took decades. I mean, it started with analog black and white TV way back in the 40s and 50s. Then we got color in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't until the 90s and 2000s that true digital standards were developed. By around 2009, most major countries had made the switch, and that's really what opened the door for the HD and 4K TV we all expect today.
Now, the first big step inside the studio was a standard called SDI. It was a huge leap forward in quality, for sure. It let broadcasters send perfect, uncompressed digital video over a single cable. But, and this is the key, it was still stuck in that old mindset. One wire, one signal. So think of it as a really nice, high-quality, one-way street. But it was still just a single street for a single car.
And the result of that was an SDI studio that looked, well, like an absolute spiderweb of cables. Every single camera, every video player, every monitor, they all needed their own physical wire running to a central router. It worked, but it was incredibly rigid. And if you wanted to expand, well, get ready to spend a ton of money and pull a lot more cable.
All of that complexity really set the stage for part three, when broadcast met IT. This, right here, was the true turning point. This was the moment that the specialized world of TV engineering crashed right into the world of information technology.
And it all started with this one revolutionary idea, a real light bulb moment. What if we just stopped treating video and audio like they were these special, fragile signals that needed their own special equipment? What if instead we treated them just like any other piece of data on a computer network, like an email or a web page?
That idea was a total game changer, and it led to this new standard, ST2110. Now, if SDI was that one-way street, ST2110 is a multi-lane superhighway. Your video, your audio, all the other data, it all gets broken up into tiny little packets and sent out over a standard computer network. And those packets can go anywhere, to any device, at any time. The flexibility is just incredible.
The real magic here is how it breaks a TV signal down into its core parts, or essences. So the video itself becomes one data stream.
Then each separate audio track, say the English broadcast, the Spanish one, and maybe a director's commentary, each one of those becomes its own separate stream. Same for closed captions and timing info. This lets producers grab, mix, and match any of these pieces on the fly. It's amazing.
And what you get is a control room that looks like this. It's not really a TV studio anymore, is it? It's a nerve center. It's a network operations center. The engineers in there aren't just punching buttons to switch cameras. They are managing an enormous amount of high-stakes data traffic every single second. Okay, so this huge shift to an IT-first model had some pretty profound consequences, which brings us to our last section, Part 4, the new blueprint. This is where we look at how this revolution created a totally new kind of studio and completely redefined what it means to be a broadcast engineer.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got that specialized, custom-built hardware from the old days, and on the right, that's today. It's just standard, off-the-shelf servers, storage, and networking equipment, the exact same stuff you'd find in any big company's data center. The studio literally became a data center that just happens to put out TV shows.
And with that, the broadcast engineer's whole job just transformed. The essential skills aren't about soldering irons and oscilloscopes anymore. The engineer of today has to be a pro at network administration, at virtualization, and maybe most importantly at cybersecurity. Their whole identity has shifted to being a highly specialized IT pro.
One of the biggest payoffs from all this IT infrastructure is using all that computing power to compress video. I mean, check this out. To send a live 4K video stream, which is a gigantic amount of data, you only need about 20 megabits per second using modern software. That's something you can get on a decent home internet connection. And it's all possible because of powerful software running on those servers. This new IP-based world has also completely untethered production from the studio itself. A broadcast truck at a football game doesn't need to be a full-blown mobile studio anymore. It can just be a collection of cameras that send all their video feeds over an IP network right back to the main studio hundreds of miles away. It saves a ton of money and makes things way more flexible. But there's always a flip side to all this connectivity, right? When your entire TV station runs on a computer network, it becomes a target, just like any bank or hospital. Cybersecurity isn't some optional extra anymore. It's an absolutely critical part of broadcast engineering. A single ransomware attack could literally take an entire network off the air.
Which kind of leads us to one final big question. We've gone from physical gears to digital data running on servers inside a building. So what's the next logical step? If a studio is really just a data center, what happens when that data center doesn't even need to be in the building at all? What happens when it lives entirely in the cloud? That's the next revolution, and believe me, it's already started.